breaking news, guys. We don't have a super dark topic today. I mean, it kind of is because we're talking about disasters, but we're showing some light in the face of the most dire circumstances about some, communities helping each other out and people coming together and that kind of stuff. So it's not as dark as a rabbit hole as we sometimes go down.
Yeah, at least there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. Like even through adversity, people can get together and show you that there are good people in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into it. I'm Frankie.
I'm Rosa.
And this is
Conbini Cult.
Since we'll be talking today about a lot of natural disasters that have happened in Japan over the past few decades, we should also mention the recent news that happened just a few days ago.
That's true.
In Kumamoto, they were hit by another very big earthquake.
We were just talking about it, like doing this episode and then literally last week. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because we're going to mention the earthquakes in Kumamoto in 2016, exactly 10 years ago.
And here we are again. Pretty bad one right now. What was the magnitude this time?
This time it was magnitude 7.1.
Oof.
And it happened on July 28th. The episode is going to come out a couple weeks after we record. But at the time of recording, it was just a few days ago. So as of the day of recording, the death toll is 36. Some people are still missing. So if there's any updated news articles or anything about that, I'll pin a comment or put it in the description.
Yes.
Yeah. And then also, just in regards to this earthquake, I heard that there was also some really xenophobic, racist stuff that was spreading on Twitter and Threads.
How is it possible? Is it the foreigners' fault that there's an earthquake suddenly?
Well, because there was an explosion at an Aeon mall. So some people were saying like, oh, it was the Chinese and Vietnamese who were doing a terrorist attack.
Are people
you
okay?
kidding me?
Are people okay?
Any excuse to be xenophobic.
I just can't get it. Like, so the people that live here want to do terror attacks?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all. I don't know like far-right groups and stuff.
China and Korea and all those countries, they don't even have a history of doing terror attacks.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
But just wanted to mention that foolishness.
Great start. Great start, guys.
Pause. It's editing, Frankie. There were a couple other things that I have seen since recording the episode regarding the recent Kumamoto earthquake that I wanted to bring up during the episode. So first off, the Aeon Mall that we mentioned where there was an explosion, there were 2 female employees at the mall who were sent back into the building to put money into a safe, and they passed away in the explosion. A lot of the articles that I was seeing about it said that 2 women were sent back in, but the name and the age of only one of them has been disclosed, and she was a 22-year-old woman, which, I mean, it's heartbreaking either way that 2 people were sent back in and died. But yeah, 22 is so young. The manager deeply regrets asking them to go back in, but I don't know. Of course, they couldn't have predicted that there was going to be an explosion that would kill several people. But is it really the wisest thing to send people back into a building that you have all just evacuated from? I cannot stress this enough, but no job is worth your life. That's just so heartbreaking. May they and all the other victims of the recent earthquake rest in peace. The other thing that I saw was there was an adult film star who donated 3 million yen, around $20,000, to the Japanese Red Cross, and she also helped to organize relief supplies. And I think she had posted about it, but there was backlash on her post about it being, quote, dirty money, which, okay, her job may be taboo, but it is a legal job that she's working. She's getting her income legally, so I don't know, but if you want to get technical, what money is clean anyway? Almost everything in our lives is tied to some mega corporation that's exploiting people. So is there any clean money that exists? Help is help. I don't know. Seems like she was doing a lot more than the people who were anonymously sitting behind their computers and criticizing her for that. So yes, I wanted to bring that up as well. Now back to the episode.
Here we go.
So just a little disclaimer before we get into the episode. So we're going to be mentioning a lot of rescue efforts and aid for some of Japan's major natural disasters. But of course, that doesn't mean that the government didn't do anything to help out or nobody else except these groups tried to help out. We just wanted to point out these kind of unlikely heroes in the situations.
I mean, sorry for forgetting everyone. We can't find like every group that's ever helped in every earthquake, but
yeah, exactly.
Just the ones that we found, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so how we got onto this topic in the first place. So we already wanted to talk about the Fukushima 500, which by the end of the episode, you're going to know what that means. That's going to make sense to you. But we were also watching the other day a video by Japanalysis.
Love that channel.
Yeah, it's a very good, very funny channel. He was talking about something not related to disasters, but in that video, he mentioned a community that helped out during the Noto earthquakes in 2024.
Yeah.
And that made us think like, okay, so these are already two groups that we know who are unlikely heroes in these situations. So let's find a few more instances of that and make a whole episode about it.
We were like, finally, something wholesome to talk about.
Yeah.
It's a tear to my eye.
Kind of wholesome. Heartbreaking, but wholesome.
We love when a community comes together.
Exactly. We need more of that in the world. There's still hope in the world.
Somehow.
So just a little overview of the episode. So the first disaster that we're going to be talking about is the Great East Japan earthquake and disaster that happened in 2011. That's probably the most well-known instance of all these disasters.
That's true, I think.
Internationally.
In recent memory, I suppose.
Yes.
It's one of the biggest.
And then the Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake that happened in 1995. And the Yakuza somehow helping out with that.
Yep.
Who would have thunk?
Nobody.
And then the Kumamoto 2016 earthquakes. Then we have the Noto Peninsula earthquake. That was in Ishikawa Prefecture in 2024. And then just to piggyback off the topic of that, because it'll be a foreign community that we're talking about. So we'll talk about some other times that foreign communities have stepped up too.
And apparently Japanese communities like the Yakuza.
I said, unlikely heroes.
Help is help.
Yeah, so the Great East Japan earthquake and disaster in 2011, that was obviously devastating. That was a magnitude 9.0 earthquake. That's the largest that was ever recorded in Japan.
Yes.
But it was not only an earthquake, there was a tsunami that followed because it was like a coastal area that was the epicenter.
Yes.
Because after a lot of these earthquakes, you'll see that there's a tsunami warning for a while.
There was, right? In
Kumamoto as well.
In the Kumamoto one.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it gets lifted or it's not too bad, but in this case, it was devastating. It was huge. It was up to 40 meters.
I think people didn't really think how big it was because we get so many alerts over the years.
Yeah. Well, I will talk about an instance of that because I spoke to one of the survivors of the earthquake.
Jeez.
So yeah, the maximum height of 40 meters, which is around 130 feet.
Yeah, well.
Can you imagine?
Nobody saw it coming. That was part of the reason. Nobody evacuated in time as well, right?
Yeah, a lot of people did not. So in that disaster, nearly 20,000 people died, and there are around 2,500 people still missing, several thousand casualties, almost 500,000 people were evacuated, over 100,000 buildings destroyed. So the primary areas that were affected were obviously Fukushima. I think that's what everybody thinks of when they think of 2011, but also Iwate and Miyagi prefectures.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's not only the earthquake, not only the tsunami, there was also disaster at a nuclear power plant in Fukushima. So what exactly happened there? Part of the tsunami also hit the power plant and it disabled the power supply, which was cooling the reactors. So for 3 out of 4 reactors at Fukushima Daiichi power plant, it was disabled. So the cores started melting and then people were scrambling to cool these reactors and then prevent radioactive material like contaminated water from leaking out. And then 100,000 people were evacuated from that area.
That was probably one, besides like Chernobyl, one of the biggest disasters we had, right?
Nuclear disasters too, yeah.
It was a domino effect. I mean, first the earthquake, the destruction of buildings, then the tsunami, then the nuclear meltdown. A lot of help was needed. So how did I learn about the Fukushima 500? Well, there's a movie about it, Fukushima 50, where they're not really like recognizing all the helpers.
Is that the one I watched the trailer for?
Yes.
Okay. That was not like a documentary. That was like a dramatized version of it. So
yeah.
No offense, but
it's not really.
I would rather watch a documentary.
Yeah, it's a bit dramatized. So yeah, I was on Instagram and I was looking at a bunch of stories and one of them popped out about, it started out as a joke. Hey guys, not all elderly people hate you.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the guy was like, there's a Fukushima 500. So the elderly people, the retired elderly like experts that were former engineers and educators and things like that, volunteered to help when they heard about the cores melting down. They're like, well, we're old. How about we go in and like help fix the cores or like do whatever we need to do because we're old anyway. So we want to protect the youth. That brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
Like, where are these people? Can we be friends? That really touched my heart. So I was like, we need to talk about them because I don't feel like they're recognized enough.
No, I had never heard of them until that Instagram reel.
We're going to get into why they like, it's not really like considered an achievement but I think they had a lot of humanitarian efforts, so they're worth talking about. So like, let's start with the founder. So 72-year-old retired engineer Yasuteru Yamada. So we're going to go with Yamada-san, right? The volunteers were more than 200 to 500 retired engineers, professionals, and seniors over age 60. They were mostly retired volunteers, 60 and above. Gender didn't matter. The skilled veteran corps for Fukushima. So one of the volunteers, Kazuko Sasaki, 72-year-old grandmother, said, "My generation built these nuclear plants, so we have to take responsibility for them. We can't dump this on the next generation."
That's making me tear up too.
I'm in an emotional state. Are we ovulating at the same time? I don't know. This happened because Yamada, the leader of this, he was watching the situation as it unfolded, and he began to send email messages to all his homies. I guess his retired homies, because this is 2011, so it's all like emails. It's mostly email based, right? I don't think Grandpa was on Facebook quite yet.
No, he probably didn't have an iPhone.
No, but he was on Twitter.
What?
Yeah. So he was like messaging all his friends. So the engineer that spent his life around like industrial plants, after he saw what happened March 11, he realized the disaster was far worse than the government was letting on. That's another key thing, because, you don't want panic.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? He was the one that decided to gather the senior volunteers. It wasn't for like an altruistic reason. It was brutal, realistic calculus that it would be better to send men and women who had finished raising families and are at the sunset of their lives. And I quote, Yamada said, "We won't completely replace younger workers, but for work that doesn't require brute strength, we can fill in where the radiation is especially high."
The sunset of your life is a really wholesome way to put it.
Yeah. So I'm like, this wholesome old man wants to go into the plant and like save everybody. Somebody save this guy. We don't need send the criminals in there. No, I'm kidding. They would sabotage the nuclear plant. But here's what they did to help. They visited the site perimeter and submitted detailed plans to the government and plant operator of TEPCO to take repetitive or light-duty tasks in radioactive areas. They raised over $100,000 in public donations.
Wow, $100,000.
Yeah. Japanese authorities and TEPCO did not actually deploy the elderly volunteers directly into the high-risk reactor zones, because that would be elderly abuse, I suppose. So it was treated more as a symbolic offer, an ethical gesture. In fact, the government had ignored them at first.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess because they're old.
Yeah, they're like, these people are hallucinating or something. I don't know. You will be happy to learn that they used the funds for SBCF-funded field assessment sites visits to Fukushima. So the elderly did get to go and help out, where retired engineers helped handle the cleanup. The founder Yamada and fellow members went on speaking tours, including visits to U.S. universities and international bodies in 2012.
Wow.
Their goal was to put international pressure on state-run cleanups to allow skilled retirees into the cleanup efforts, because they were still being blocked for so long. I don't know, if you want to help your country,
if somebody is voluntarily doing it, why reject them?
Can a girl go into a melting core and help out their country? I don't know. I feel like if you want to do that, that's the kind of sacrifices I want to hear. Not about I sacrificed myself in the war. We shouldn't have war. But if we're going to have nuclear plants, we should keep those things safe. Save the next generation from having to experience radiation for 200 years, right?
Didn't they also say that, because the radiation from the power plants could cause cancer and stuff, so didn't they say because we're old, so it would take years for that to come to fruition, so we might be passed away by that time anyway, so it's better.
They were by the time the cancer gets us, we're going to be dying anyway. That's so sad.
Yeah, but it's realistic.
Yeah. I feel like if I was old and I had grandchildren, it would be the thing that would make sense. Here's the part that really pisses me off. Here's the part that infuriates me. And it's not just about the elderly. It's about every person that was working at the plant and the company that was involved, right? So TEPCO. Keep that in mind. I'm just speaking the facts of what happened. This is news reported, so can't sue us. The men and women who worked inside the damaged reactors and decontamination crews faced severe backlash from the surrounding community and the general public.
People thought they were contagious or something.
So radiation education was not
It's still not, because anytime we go to like travel in Fukushima, because Fukushima is a huge prefecture and the exclusion zone is one specific area. So anytime anyone posts about Fukushima, people are like, oh, this nuclear, like this radioactive ramen, I'm not eating that.
Are people okay?
Clearly not.
It's like when people thought that you would get HIVs from touching someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's
not shaking hands with someone. Oh no, now I have it.
You cannot get radiation poisoning from touching someone who was exposed to radiation. If you didn't know that, let's just put it out there, please, everybody. And you would think we would have that education here, seeing as this country has been bombed many times. So that should be like education that you see at school.
That is true.
They were perceived as perpetrators. The public seemed to blame them and TEPCO employees who had been highly respected figures in local communities prior. The public backlash intensified. Psychiatrists treating cleanup workers reported that they were verbally abused in public, even at their home, and they were asked to leave the town.
Oh my God.
I know. Many had to hide their identities and couldn't wear their uniforms in public. Even the children of these workers faced bullying and harassment at school.
That's horrible.
Every time I try to look at something good, something bad, it's like whack-a-mole. Gonna whack all the bad stuff. Not to mention the discrimination against evacuees and returnees. So there was a school bullying and marriage stigma, particularly against women who were from Fukushima. And there were even people who felt it was unfair that the evacuees received government help stipend, and they felt jealous that they didn't somehow.
If you have to evacuate, you're leaving everything behind. You need support.
Well, the people like the surrounding area felt like they're struggling too, because the earthquake affected everything, right? So they're like, I'm struggling. Why don't I get a stipend?
But those people couldn't go back home even if they wanted to.
Their house is destroyed, and there's radiation surrounding like a specific area. Again, it all goes back to education. Mm-hmm. But despite all this, all the people who helped each other during the earthquake, those are the real heroes, even though they had to sacrifice so much. Because think about it, guys. If these people didn't help, what would have happened? You think you could clean up a radiated?
It would have been so much worse.
Yeah, I don't think these civilians could clean up a melting core.
No.
You needed these experts, these people that were already working there, the TEPCO, everyone. Those people gave up a lot, and you're going to treat them badly? That's crazy. We got to do better and remember Yamada's words. He said, to take the step, you need a lot of guts, but I hope it will be a great experience. Most Japanese people want to help out any way they can. That's what we should think. If you want to help your community, you shouldn't let the government stop you from doing that.
That's true. Or the bullies.
There
were a couple more things that I just wanted to mention regarding the 2011 disaster. So There was a school that you can visit. I've been there before.
Really?
The town is Namie in Fukushima.
Okay.
So it's called Ukedo Elementary School Earthquake Ruins. But they call it the Miracle School because all 93 students at that school were able to evacuate safely.
Whoa.
Because that wasn't the case for a lot of schools.
In Fukushima, of course.
Yeah, the coastal area. So, yeah, you can visit the ruins. It's a pretty moving experience because they didn't touch anything. So you can see how high the water level rose. And the first floor is just completely in ruins, but the school is still standing. So the kids of that school, when they started hearing the announcements to start evacuating, so their plan was to go to a nearby mountain, maybe something more like a hill. Mm-hmm. It's something that you could get to pretty quickly. Yeah, so as they're all on the way up, there was a driver who had a small truck. I imagined it was one of those little farmer trucks,
like the
little
K-trucks?
K-trucks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, who also took some of the kids up so they could get there faster. There's also the Great East Japan Earthquake and Nuclear Disaster Memorial Museum in that same area. So they have speakers who are survivors of the disaster who do talks sometimes. Just in general there you can learn about nuclear energy and the disaster and all that stuff. But the speaker that I saw, so she was actually a student at that school. She was in 5th grade.
Oh my God. She remembers everything.
Yeah, and she also said that, she really urges people to evacuate as soon as you get those warnings because her grandparents didn't make it because they thought we get these notifications all the time. It's never anything serious.
Oh my God.
But the time that it was, yeah, so two of her grandparents passed away.
I never seen an evacuation warning. Not yet.
Where we're living, no. We just get the notifications the earthquake is coming or the earthquake happened.
I mean, if I saw one, I'd grab my passport and run outside. Come on. Mm-hmm. Come on, guys. Though I don't know what the evacuation is. So I just follow people. My sense of direction is not good.
Well, it's usually... Well, we don't live on a coastal area, so I
Yeah.
don't think we have to worry about tsunamis unless we are traveling somewhere. But usually it's like an elementary school or something.
Yeah.
Because those are concrete. So that's where people would evacuate to.
I mean, just for anything, like air raids or something's going on, or it's good to know.
And also at that museum, so there was, when they first opened the nuclear power plant, they had a big sign in the town, like when you're entering the town, you like drive the car under it, that type of sign. But it said like, nuclear power is the energy for a bright future. And they have that sign at the museum, so it's really eerie to see it now. But I really recommend going to see that school and that museum.
I think after that, we haven't built any new nuclear centers, right?
Not that I know of.
Because, there was so much controversy after that.
Yeah, but I think at the time it was built, a lot of people were really hyped up on nuclear energy. Like, this is a new technology. It's going to be really great.
But I don't think nobody built it thinking, let's make it
this would
tsunami.
happen, yeah.
Let's make it tsunami proof. I guess in retrospect.
I mean, you don't know.
I'm not an engineer. So we're still on the Fukushima meltdown situation, right? So this is in Tohoku. We mentioned the Yakuza, right?
Yep.
An unlikely group
Yes.
to come save the day.
I wouldn't have guessed that they would be ones helping out too.
Yeah, this is just one of the instances. So I'm going to talk about three that they helped out. The first one that happened was 1995, which we're going to get to later, but this is still on 2011.
Hold up, it's editing Frankie again. So before we get into the topic of the aid efforts that the Yakuza did, I just want to point out, I mean, we do talk about this at some point in the conversation about them, but I want to say it in the beginning as well. So just because we're talking about them helping out during these disasters, that doesn't mean that we are excusing the fact that they are a criminal organization who's been involved in things like torture, murder, assault, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, to name a few things. It's just a bit ironic, as we're going to point out later, that their relief efforts were faster than the government in some cases. But it also does make me wonder, going back to the adult video star that donated money in the recent Kumamoto earthquakes and people saying that her money was dirty, I wonder if people felt the same way about the Yakuza efforts? Maybe not, because it wasn't advertised as much. They kind of did it on the down low, so who knows? That just made me think. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that we're not forgetting the fact that they are a criminal organization. So back to the episode.
So the groups involve the Yamaguchi Gumi, which is Kobe, Inagawa Kai, and Sumiyoshi Kai, which I forgot where they are, but I think they're separate from the Yamaguchi Gumi. 3 major syndicates dispatched dozens of trucks carrying hundreds of tons of emergency provisions, including bottled water, instant ramen, diapers, sanitary products, batteries, blankets, and wow, they were just ready, I guess. They just had
it.
They just like, you know what, we got provisions just because. The syndicate offices in Tokyo and northern Japan opened their doors and to stranded commuters and dispatched residents who could not return home. What else happened? So unlike the standard PR efforts, much of the aid was delivered quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not like making a big deal about it. Usually when you see the people that are distributing aid, they have uniforms on.
Yeah.
It's all very official. It takes like a decade to get there. So I'm a little bitter about that the Yakuza got there before them. The Yakuza's like, I'm pulling up like hours after the disaster. Members intentionally did not wear clan badges or display group logos, fearing that local authorities would reject the supplies if they were explicitly tied to organized crime.
That makes sense.
Neighbor security. Can you imagine if the Yakuza rose up in town to guard your house from thieves and looters?
Well, I'm sure they'd get the job done.
If you were a looter, would you loot that house that's being protected by...
Absolutely not.
So, yeah, well, in affected towns, members formed voluntary patrols to deter this.
Wow.
Get her done,
Okay.
I guess.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I'm going to get more into detail because I think the aid for the 1995 one was more significant.
Okay, so going all the way back to 1995, the Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake, that was in our area. But we were not in Japan at the time. We were like toddlers.
I'm still in Costa Rica, I think.
Yeah. So 1995, it was a magnitude 7.2 earthquake, and around 5,000 to 6,000 people died. Tens of thousands were injured. Over 200,000 buildings were damaged. I don't know if you've ever seen that image of the highway. I think it was in Kobe, like the highway collapsed.
I have seen that. I guess it's one of the iconic ones, right?
Yeah, that's 1995. But what did the Yakuza do in that situation?
within hours of the quake, the Yamaguchi Gumi mobilized its networks to distribute water, food, formula, daily supplies straight from its headquarters. And the shocking part was that they were even faster than the government itself. They also operated soup kitchens, distributed hot meals, and used trucks and private helicopters to bypass damaged infrastructure.
Wow.
Well, you gotta think it's the 90s, so this is like the richest they ever been. Right, so I think that the 80s was like really their boom.
Yeah.
For the Yakuza.
So that explains the private helicopters.
Yeah, to bypass like the collateral damage. So the government faced severe criticism for their bureaucratic delays and slow emergency responses.
Valid.
While the Yakuza had immediate local response, which gained widespread support and praise.
Wow.
Yeah. Later, after I talked about the last one, I'm going to get into why they do this. Like, they have their reasons to do it.
Okay. So is that in regards to Kumamoto?
Well, I mean, to every disaster that the Yakuza has ever helped, yeah. In recent times, they have not joined in aid because the groups are diminished.
That makes sense.
Do you have anything on the Great Hanshin earthquake?
No, that was it. Just the overview. But that's a very significant disaster as well, especially because we live in that area.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like memorials and stuff for that. So in 2016, Kumamoto also had not just one bad earthquake, but two in a row. So April 2016, first a magnitude 6.5 foreshock hit. And then 28 hours later, a magnitude 7.3 main shock hit Kumamoto.
Back to back.
Yes. So 278 people in Kumamoto and Oita prefectures died. A lot of these deaths are from the result of the stress of evacuation.
Wow.
So especially for elderly people or people who are hospitalized, it's really difficult for them to move.
That's true. And I don't know if it said what season it was, because that also...
April, yeah.
Okay, it should be...
So it wasn't as bad
cooler.
as if it would happen in the summer.
Yeah, or winter.
But which just happened a few days ago.
Well, people are trapped under the rubble. And I don't think...
Yeah, they say
it's
that
going to be a good situation.
The first 72 hours within the disaster are really, really crucial for finding the missing people or people who are trapped.
I should have written it down. Like, I saw in the news, 5 immigrants were digging in the rubble.
In Kumamoto? This
help.
week?
Yeah. But since it wasn't a community, I didn't write it down. It was just 5 foreigners that were like, let me help.
I mean, in the face of disaster, you see a lot of people wanting to help, so that's good. So for Kumamoto in 2016, there were a lot of buildings that were damaged in Kyushu too, but I specifically remember about Kumamoto Castle being damaged.
Yeah, that was a huge one.
Yeah, so the property damage at Kumamoto Castle totaled about 63.4 billion yen, about $390 million. Most of the roof tiles of the main tower fell off, and all 13 national important cultural properties inside the castle were damaged. About 23,600 square meters of the stone walls that make up the foundation of the castle, or about 30% of the total, all collapsed. So these restoration efforts have been happening since then, and they were supposed to be ongoing until 2052. So it just got damaged again. So who knows when they're going to be complete now?
They're just going to keep going till it's fixed, I guess.
The main castle tower, it had reopened in 2021 after those repairs were finished. So you could go inside the castle again. And I visited in 2022, about a year later. And they were saying how, because they're still reconstructing all these stone walls, but they were asking if anybody had old photos of it. So they were looking at these old photographs and trying to realign, like reposition all the stones to match.
That's insane.
That's such a hard task. That's why it would have taken until 2052.
You also got to realize why these things are so expensive, because the artisans that make these things are dying out.
Yeah. Well, the people who made it originally, that was...
Well, they're gone.
That's from the 1600s. So
yeah, so we're using...
can't ask them.
Help me, ghost.
Gotta have a seance to ask, how did you build this stone wall?
Yeah, I used what is that thing? I forgot the game. I forgot
Tetris?
No, like, you gotta move the little thingy and on the letters. I forgot what it's called.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, imagine like if it happened here, like in Osaka Castle, which is one of like the top 3 castles here. It'll be crazy.
Yeah. As of April 2026, this year, only 7% of the stone walls had been reconstructed.
Only 7.
Only 7.
It's been like 10 years, right? Or more.
Yeah. So that just goes to show how difficult it is.
Thanks, earthquakes.
Oh, man.
Don't come again. Why we gotta live in the ring of fire?
The country is too beautiful.
They're like, you have too many good things.
Yeah.
Let's fix that.
Steak too juicy, lobster too buttery.
Yeah.
Earthquakes.
Earthquake time. That sucks.
Yeah. So how did the Yakuza help out in Kumamoto?
So let's see. They converted their neighborhood headquarters into emergency distribution centers. They utilized social media and word of mouth, and they invited the local residents to pick up provisions like boxed food, drinking water, and hygiene products. Sad to report that they did not help during the 2024 Noto quake. I think this is because the group was diminished, or perhaps the disaster wasn't big enough. I'm not sure the reason, but I'm sure it will be studied eventually. Now you might be asking, why would they do this? It doesn't align with the big image of big, badass criminals helping the elderly and distributing
Sanitary pads.
period pads. But so apparently, because of the code Nikyo, helping the weak and fighting the strong. That's their code.
Okay.
Also, rapid aid fosters local sympathy and makes residents less inclined to cooperate with police crackdowns.
Interesting. Well, I guess when you put it that way.
I mean, I'm sorry, I always have smoke for the police in whatever country I'm in. It doesn't matter if I'm in Japan or in America. I got smoke for all the police that I meet. So if the Yakuza is helping me more than the police, what does that say?
Yeah, that's true.
Or more than the government. They saved my life, so maybe I'm gonna chill out for a bit. Right? Not to say that we should be supporting crime. That should never be a thing. But think about it.
We can't forget the
They're criminals.
trafficking and stuff that they do.
drug
and sex trafficking.
Yes, that's always a bad thing. But I guess in a community setting, like old people, like in a small town, you're kind of like hush-hush about it. So that's what happens. So in recent years, strict anti-organized crime laws, Boryokudan exclusion ordinances, have made it illegal for public entities or citizens to accept financial or material support from syndicates.
That just sounds like they're mad that the Yakuza helped out before them.
Let me pass a law to make sure that it's illegal
That
to
people
receive.
can't get bottled water and sanitary pads.
You will not get aid from the syndicate. So this significantly limited their ability to conduct public aid efforts as of today.
I see.
I think that's the true tea. The police are winning, which is, I hate to say, because I'm still not a fan of them, but I'm also not a fan of organized crime. Sometimes a hero will come in the most unusual time.
So speaking of other heroes, our next group of heroes are not Yakuza. They're not police.
No.
And they're not the government. So in
Next fighter.
Yes. So on the Noto Peninsula in Ishikawa, 2024, a magnitude 7.6 earthquake struck in the late afternoon on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I
So
remember.
that was, I was with my family at that time. So we felt the earthquake and then we turned on the TV and then...
I was like watching the TV, like eating, I forgot the Japanese.
Ozoni,
Yeah.
the mochi soup.
Yeah, and then I felt a little bit of a quake, right? And then like literally 5 seconds later, breaking news, earthquake in Noto. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, so that was pretty bad. The death toll currently stands at 700.
That's pretty high.
It included people who died later from earthquake-related causes. Many of those, again, were elderly and people with life-threatening conditions who had to be moved out of hospitals and other facilities.
Oh, man.
Yeah. 152 people, at least in that situation, who passed away from the stress of evacuating and stuff. But, so there were volunteers from the Kurdish community, and they provided over 4,000 meals for disaster victims on the Noto Peninsula.
I didn't even know we had Kurds.
It's a very, very small number.
I have no idea.
I'll talk about that at the end.
It's a controversial topic.
Somehow. But the community is really, really small. They provided over 4,000 meals. So the effort was led by the owner of a kebab shop called Happy Kebab in Kawaguchi, Saitama. So he didn't even live in Ishikawa.
So he drove like 11 hours to get there.
Yeah. So his name is Tashi Tafiki. So in February of the previous year, his hometown in southern Turkey was hit by an earthquake, and Japan offered support in this case. There were more than 50,000 people in Turkey and Syria who were killed by this earthquake, and Japan dispatched a rescue and medical team.
That's nice of them.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I looked this up. So Tashi wanted to repay the kindness and not sit back and do nothing as the people on the Noto Peninsula were going through disaster too. Him and his volunteers, they volunteered through the NGO called Peace Boat, and they provided meals at evacuation centers like kebab and also this soup called chorba or shorba. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, which is made from tomatoes, lentils, garlic, bell peppers, potatoes, and onions. And it's usually spicy, but they made it more mild to appeal to more people.
Oh,
That's really sweet.
4,000 meals? That's a lot.
At least.
From their own pocket?
Yes.
That's insane. Nobody can tell me nothing about foreigners in this country, to be honest.
We have to visit Happy Kebab.
It's a mission.
Yeah, if we're ever in Saitama. I did find two sources that talked about this. So in the other one, it was told slightly differently. Just seemed more like a less emotional version of
cut and dry
the story, I suppose. Yeah. They said, so the humanitarian organization Heva Sora Kurdistan, in cooperation with Kurdish business people, which means Tashi, I guess, they provided hot meals and supplies to earthquake victims. According to a statement made by their organization, a 4,000-person meal was distributed to earthquake victims in 8 shelters for 3 days from January 12th. And then on February 24th and 25th, 1,200 people were given hot meals for 2 days, and 2,000 people were given provisions. So total, that's over 5,000 meals that they provided.
Actually, that organization you mentioned did pop up in the research I was doing. But yeah.
Peace Boat.
Yeah. They were mentioned a lot because maybe they help in like a lot of disasters.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So regarding the Kurdish community, I'm not Kurdish. Neither are you. But there's only 2,000 or 3,000 Kurdish people in Japan.
Well, you know that. I think they mentioned it.
half of them are in Saitama. But in the video that we watched from Japanalysis, he was talking about this really xenophobic politician. But this politician went to Saitama in order to discriminate and harass the Kurdish people there.
Yes. So they're coming in as refugees, right? And then...
Yeah, there was some visa, like refugee or asylum complication that was solved in 2024.
Because they kept getting rejected and then they have to keep applying, so they couldn't work.
Yeah, they couldn't legally work.
And they're living off aid. But whose fault is that?
Yeah, so they were stuck in this loophole for so long.
If you don't want to like provide aid, then like give them a visa or work. Like, what are you doing? So then, of course, that builds resentment in communities.
Yeah. But it's not even just in Japan that Kurdish people are so discriminated against.
I feel like,
it's all over. But we're talking about Japan on this podcast, so that's why I wanted to mention it. But yeah, the community is so small. It's only 2,000 to 3,000 people. But still, even in the face of all this discrimination, they still helped out.
They still pulled up.
I didn't see that politician there volunteering, providing aid.
I didn't see any politician out in the fields helping out. But who knows? Maybe there were the good ones. In Saitama, the Florida of Japan.
That's going to be another topic for us to cover. Florida
excited.
Man, Saitama man,
and woman.
And woman. Saitama person.
I hope it doesn't get too dark. We got get to have some gruesome gaps.
I'm sure it's going to be both.
True.
But yeah, so that's what I got.
Okay. Mine are the other ones I have are a few short notable efforts. I'll mention what disaster is for because it's not necessarily all the same, but like, okay, Operation Tomodachi.
Operation Tomodachi.
So following the 2011 tsunami, around 24,000 U.S. military personnel stationed in Japan joined the local cleanup efforts and cleared Sendai Airport to restore relief supply and help, flights take off. They delivered food, water to isolated coastal villages.
Wow. So, okay. All right. The military did something good for a change.
Mean, you're stationed here. Imagine they don't help.
They probably have a lot of stuff they could use for aid, so put it to use.
Yeah. Put that butt to work. What are you doing here? But yeah, I guess if they're stationed here.
Yeah, might as well.
There's also multilingual disaster centers. Because, okay, imagine you're a foreigner here during a disaster. You don't speak the language.
That's really scary, yeah.
So international students and long-term foreign residents formed volunteer translation squads.
Oh.
They ran multilingual hotlines, broadcasted emergency announcements in English, Chinese, Korean, and Tagalog, and visited shelters to translate medical needs and logistical instructions.
Wow.
Then, we have another group, so the Sikh Relief. So following the 2011, again, this is all 2011 effort because that was such a huge disaster, right?
Yes.
The Sikh volunteers living in Japan collaborated with international relief networks rather than waiting for international shipments. So United Sikhs volunteered based in Shiva in Matsudo and Tokyo.
Chiba?
Yeah, not Shiva. Chiba. Shiba is
Shiba
a dog.
Inu?
Maybe I want a pet. But yeah, so Tokyo procured emergency supplies locally delivered to aid. They made it faster. I'm going to say this wrong, aren't I? Even though I practice. So Japan's like Gurudwara? No, wait, hold on. Gurudwara. Japan's Gurudwara, a place of worship for Sikhs. Yeah, the Guru Nanak Darbar in Tokyo and Guru Nanak Darbar in Kobe acted as local bases for both relief, logistics, and open community shelter. So before the 2011 disaster, the Sikh community in Japan was relatively small and faced occasional misunderstandings due to low local familiarity with Sikh religious practices and turbans. There's always an issue, right, with the turbans or the face coverings. So the community's visible hands-on disaster relief transformed those local relationships, and Japanese neighbors and municipal workers saw Sikh volunteers shoveling debris and delivering hot food alongside local emergency teams. So yeah, that was the last story.
Yeah.
About humanity.
So, see, there's unlikely heroes all over the place.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more we didn't find.
There's got to be more, but...
If you know of any, drop a comment, let us know, because we want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, hopefully that restored your hope in humanity a little bit.
I know it did
It
for
did
me.
for me. It's really bad these days.
Yeah, it's just, it's not just earthquakes here, right? The earthquake in Venezuela, all the things that are happening.
I can't believe the one that we mentioned in Turkey and Syria.
Yeah.
50,000 people? Because, I mean, in Japan is very prepared.
That's true.
We're really expecting earthquakes to happen here,
we
but
had
in
6,000.
Venezuela too, if people are not, the infrastructure can't handle that. So when it happens, it's even more devastating.
I haven't checked the toll in Venezuela, but I know it's not good. So yeah, it's just like what happened, just like you said, if you're not prepared for a disaster. Like in Florida, we always get hurricanes. But then I think upstate, they got it.
Yeah, when it happened in North Carolina, they were not prepared for that.
It was so bad. Yeah, I think we should all help each other in these times because it could be anyone at this point.
Exactly. Mother Nature. That's one force that does not discriminate.
Yeah, we have the heat waves.
She's not xenophobic. She's going to get you.
She don't care what background you are. Remember when all the houses were on fire in California? Like the rich people and stuff? That was a huge deal.
Yeah, you can't fight nature.
Nope.
It could happen to anybody. So please have more sympathy for these victims.
Keep in touch with your loved ones. My mom's always calling me every time there's an earthquake.
Yeah.
She's not sure where I am.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know where Osaka is. I'm like, I always show her on the map. But every time she still calls me like, are you alive? Yes, I'm alive.
All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go volunteer.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Help somebody out.
All right. Catch you again soon. Bye.
Bye. Now I want to volunteer. Could be fun. But not in the summer.